This episode is brought to you by DistroKid. DistroKid is the easiest way for musicians to get their music into all the platforms: Amazon, Apple, Tidal, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Plus, you've got unlimited uploads, and the artist keeps 100% of what they make. But what I love most about DistroKid is their app. The design of it just makes the whole process so easy. Now you can be sure that you're doing everything you need to do to get your music out there. Go to distrokid.com to check it out or download the app now. Welcome to Discograffiti's 2025 Patreon Membership Super Drive. Now more than ever with our Beach Boys series underway, much of which will be living exclusively on our Patreon platform, this is the time to join, and I'm going to make it super easy for you. At the lieutenant or major tier, in addition to 3 or 4 shows a week, access to the gigantic archive of Patreon back episodes, and your backstage pass, you'll also get the following: an onboarding call with me during which you'll tell me all your ideas on how to make the podcast you'd like to hear. And whether I use all, some, or none of your ideas, I'll have listened closely and most importantly, gotten to know you. Plus, 3 months into your membership, you'll be eligible to appear on the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast. That's right, an entire episode all about you, your band, your band's album, your band's tour, or whatever other cool stuff you might be up to. And not only do we make the episode, we promote it for you too. Last but not least, you'll receive a completely free digital copy of Metal Machine Muzak, which otherwise costs $11. Metal Machine Muzak is Discograffiti's double album Lou Reed tribute featuring 16-minute pieces by Lou Barlow from Sebadoh and Dino Jr., Corey Hansen from Wand, Mark Robinson from Unrest, and W. Cullen Hart from Olivia Tremor Control. Please tell all your music obsessive friends. In fact, if your friends do sign up, be sure to email me at info@discograffiti.com and let me know who they are, because I'll be sending you an additional surprise gift on top of everything else as a token of my gratitude. And now, without further ado, the greatest music commentary podcast in all the land, I bring you Discograffiti. Tugboat, in my opinion, one of the greatest love songs of all time. You know, just a perfect, cohesive starting gate moment. It's just a thing of amazement to me. Is the title possibly a reference to Sterling Morrison? Who was
absolutely. I had become aware that Sterling Morrison had a job as the skipper of a tugboat down in Houston.
Yeah, in the 70s and 80s, right?
Yeah. And I found this, I guess, pretty romantic. So it's a song I was, written to my girlfriend, and I would come down to visit her in New York, and she would always have all these parties for us to go to, like, let's go to this, let's go to this. And I'd just be like, oh, I just came down here to see you. I don't want to stay at your party. I don't want to talk to your friends. I just want to be your tugboat captain. I guess that's the way of saying, I don't know. I want to get married. I don't know.
Welcome to Discograffiti, the Music Obsessives podcast that gives freaks like you and me the chance to connect with a brotherhood obsessed with rating the entire discography of every single artist and band that ever mattered. I'm your host, Dave Gebrow, and with 4 new episodes each week, you're going to gain a comprehensive knowledge of an act's history and output in the time it takes to listen to one album. Each new guest swings a hard left into an area you either had no idea you needed to know about or know all about and can't believe you're not alone out there. And in this episode, we'll be turning our spray cans on Galaxie 500, Psst, along with our special guest, Dean Wareham. Here's just a few of the many things that Dean and I discuss in this podcast. A deep dive into the degree of urgency intended by Don't Let Our Youth Go to Waste, which Discograffiti wisely co-opted as its perennial sign-off. An overview of the type of material proffered by Dean's early bands, Speedy The Castanets and Johnny Guitar. The early champions who wound up making things happen for the band. And a track-by-track rundown of Galaxie 500's classic debut, Today. If you're a Galaxie 500 superfan like me, you'll want to turn this free version off right now and opt for the director's cut of this episode on our Patreon page, which features 17 additional minutes of essential material. And you can find it in our Patreon shop for mere pennies at patreon.com/discograffiti/shop. Or better yet, just subscribe for access to the complete versions of all our shows. I recommend the Lieutenant tier at the very least, so you can access those director's cuts, but the major tier is what you want if you want it all, including, for you true music lovers out there, a guest-packed cornucopia of off-the-beaten-path episodes. Even if you're on the fence, just head over there because it's finally free to become a basic member. Coming up, we've got all the living members of Moby Grape rating their own catalog, Denny Tedesco on his incredible new documentary, The Immediate Family, an unprecedentedly intimate interview with Marilyn Wilson Rutherford and her cousin and Honey's bandmate Ginger Blake, plus Season 3 of the Beach Boys and Your Dreams Come True series, which will absolutely, without question, delve deeper into Pet Sounds and Smile than anyone else ever has in history. Plus, Crosby and Nash's complete discography, discussed and rated by the man himself, Graham Nash. So don't miss out. Open up your listening app right now and subscribe. And away we go then! Are you ready for what is objectively and indubitably the best introduction you've ever gotten?
Yes.
All right. Today's guest is a New Zealand-born, Australian-raised musician who couldn't have hoped for a more serendipitous fate than to find himself in New York City in 1977. Fast forward one decade, and he co-founded the band Galaxie 500 in 1987 with two good friends from his Harvard days, Damon Krukowski and Naomi Yang. After the band's dissolution in April 1991, he established the band Luna, initially with Stanley Demeski and Justin Harwood. In the summer of 1993, after releasing their debut album, the band became the supporting act for the reformed Velvet Underground on their European tour. Britta Phillips joined Luna when Harwood departed in 2000. He and Phillips eventually married and started releasing great records as a duo. Following Luna's breakup in 2005, the pair ventured into film composition, notably for the soundtracks of Noah Baumbach's films The Squid and the Whale and Mistress America, and he wrote his memoir, Black Postcards, which was published in 2008 by Penguin Press. In 2014, he released a self-titled solo album, and the next year he reformed Luna. 2021's I Have Nothing to Say to the Mayor of LA was his first full album of new songs since the aforementioned eponymous Platter. His brand spanking newest, the fourth studio solo LP, entitled That's the Price of Loving Me, was released on March 28th via Car Park Records and finds him reunited with Galaxie 500 producer Kramer for their first collaboration in 34 gobsmacked years. That is huge, huge news if either you're me or conversely if you are you. Lads and ladies of Discograffiti'ville, this has been a long time coming. He may not have known that, but I certainly did. His is a career that came to pass while rhyming on the red line with a drummer and his lass. They found their George Martin in Shimmy Disc's Kramer and produced work together that made them Hall of Famers. He did not let his youth go to waste. It's Dean Wareham.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That is a great introduction.
You know, it's funny. I found myself writing poetry at the end of it.
Oh, really? You don't do that every time?
Sometimes there's rhyming stuff, but I could have kept going on that one, honestly.
You know, I never thought of myself as Australian raised, but it's kind of true. I was there from age 7 to 14. Yeah. So it's, yeah.
This deep into the show's history, I have ceased to be anything even remotely sycophantic when it comes to any guests. But, you know, your work as it is something as a whole, and not just Galaxie 500, but really everything you've done has been very substantive in my life, in setting a tone, in setting a mood, really a thing of calm. You know, I don't know if you are as calm as a lot of your music is, or if you use the music to calm yourself down.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I'm any calmer. I guess I'm calmer than some. I get stressed out too.
Yeah. But for me, I was DJing on WTBU, the Boston University station, and I would always wrap up with a couple of songs that I would play all the time, which is Help Me Please from Pete Kember's debut solo record, the one with the spinning wheel.
Yeah, I have that one, yeah.
Which is, I love that song, one of his many suicide songs. And Hearing Voices, which was always my favorite song on This Is Our Music. And my show was at 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., so I'd walk back to my dorm past the Citgo sign as the Boston sky was getting that light blue and the sun was just starting to peek out. Some of my best memories I've ever had. And fast forward a few years and driving across America a number of times, and the album Today, still for me, I still reference as the greatest album to play when you're traveling late at night, as long as you're not tired. And, and then specifically the song Don't Let Our Youth Go to Waste, it's actually how I sign off the show, as we talked about before. And it's a line that, as much as Jonathan Richman came up with it, I attribute it to you because your version is the one I first heard. And I feel like you invested, whether you meant to or not, there's an investment, like a seriousness of tone and intent that I don't find in his version. And I feel like you really meant it as a flare gun reminder to your future self to not let things go that were important to you. Did you mean that?
I think the interesting is, well, Jonathan never released it. It only came out on a bootleg, of course. So to him, I guess that tells you what his thinking was about it, that he was maybe somewhat embarrassed by it. I don't know. I have had people heckle me, don't let your old age go to waste or something in England, more recently. But it is a nice statement.
I find that there's a lot of urgency in it because,
yeah, there is.
If you actually look at the lyrics, it doesn't beat you over the head with a message. He could have really gone to a really po-faced sincerity place with it, which he didn't, thankfully. But it's really just that one line. And then, some really poetically vague but seemingly meaningful bits around it lyrically.
Well, I guess he's trying to get with this girl. That's what it sounds like.
Right.
And he's saying, I could show you memories. I could do all this. Don't let our youth go to waste.
Yeah.
Maybe on her end, she's like, I'm not letting my youth go to waste, but I'm not spending it with you. I don't know.
Right. Which makes it even better because it's just a cheap come-on line in the song. I mean, I always saw that song as an anthem. It always felt like an anthem, but not like Freebird, where it's attempting to be that. But for lack of a better word, because, God help us for being associated with that time, but a slacker anthem, because it's not going for being an anthem. By dint of that, it becomes one. So for me, it was behind some of the better decision-making I've ever made in my life, is having that really in the back of my mind at all times. Because the things that mean a lot to you, which we're just meeting for the first time, as life goes on, if you turn your back on them because you are getting older and certain things should be coming to the forefront and be more of a priority, then, there's certain notions as a kid where you are smarter than when you get older.
Yeah, some things are easier, certainly, yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious, too, although you're not exactly John Fogerty-like in your relationship with your back catalog, you're also not the kind of guy who seems to get bogged down by nostalgia, even though you, of course, played all these early songs from your repertoire live. What is your overall feeling toward your early material with Galaxie 500? Is it an albatross? Is it a godsend? Or is it somewhere in between?
There was a long period where I didn't play any of these songs. Like in Luna, I didn't really play any Galaxie. Maybe once in a while we'd do one. And actually, looking back, I think that was a mistake. I think I should have just kept playing those songs. It was kind of silly of me. But anyway, looking back at these records, I love those 3 albums, and I'm very proud of them. And there's sometimes you look back at songs, and there's maybe there's one or two on the record that make you cringe. It's like, oh God, I wish I could remove that completely from the catalog. But I don't feel that way about it, anything on the Galaxie 500 records. So when I did finally start playing those songs again, doing some shows of just all Galaxie 500 songs, It was really fun.
I don't know if you did it after the first time, but I saw you at the Troubadour in L.A. for one of those Dean Plays the Galaxie.
Yeah. I remember that.
You remember me there?
I don't remember you there, no.
You may actually remember me because I did a very miniature version of this episode without intending to. This was years before I started doing the show, and out of nothing but abject curiosity, because I wasn't trying to be a penis, in between songs I yelled, "What are your favorite Galaxie 500 albums in descending order?" I don't know if you remember that, and to your credit, you answered me, and I believe, if I remember correctly, you said 2, 1, 3.
My favorite in descending order. Okay. I said 2, 1, 3. Sometimes I feel 1, 2, 3. 1 being the favorite, of course, right?
Yeah. All right, let's
get to that.
Let's dive in. We've got lots to talk about here. First, let's introduce the characters in today's episode. We have Dean Wareham on guitar and vocals, Damon Krukowski on drums, and Naomi Yang on bass guitar and vocals. And for anyone out there who does not have good music taste but is learning how to try to have good music taste, Galaxie 500 was an indie rock band that formed in 1987 and split up in 1991 after releasing 3 studio albums, Today from 88, On Fire from 89, and This Is Our Music from 1990. It's possible that Seinfeld got a lesson or two about how to go out on top like these guys. All right, so the musical style at play, simple instrumental techniques enhanced through an atmospheric production style. The sound has been described as reverb saturated, woozily slow-paced and minimal. The Velvet Underground and Jonathan Richman are key influences. And then on the Don't Let Our Youth Go to Waste DVD, you cite Spaceman 3 as another key inspiration. So was that your favorite band at that time?
Yeah, the Spaceman 3... Yeah, I mean, they were contemporary as well, so I guess they weren't, like, not on this first record. I don't think I'd heard them, but when we made our first album, but maybe I remember going into Newbury Comics, picking up the Spaceman 3 record, and just looking at the cover of Perfect Prescription, looking at the photo of them on the back, I was like, wow, this looks like Jason's got his eyes closed to one, and they look sort of weirdly English preppy kind of, and I was just like, oh, this looks different, doesn't it? They were certainly my favorite English band. Galaxie 500, when we were starting, we were really into Dream Syndicate too, and Opal, like the Paisley Underground stuff.
You know, for me, it's not
it's
not Happy Nightmare Baby. It's Opal's early recordings. That's one of the greatest albums I've ever heard.
Yeah, I love that record too, which is out of print now, right? I remember I had a CD of that and I lost it somewhere on tour. I was so crushed, but it's pretty easy to find on Discogs now.
You want me to burn you a copy?
I got a new one. I got another one.
I think within the same month, I got Opal's early recordings and Perfect Prescription at Strawberries in Kenmore Square.
Nice.
In 1990, both of them. Okay, the run-up, which is a section of the show which gets us with great and admirable economy to the first note you ever played as a band. So the three of you all went to the same school, the Dalton School, on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, which has a strong arts bias. You arrived, like you said, on your 14th birthday in 77, and then you met Damon in your 9th grade history class. He got sick. He asked to borrow your notebook to catch up on schoolwork, and then he lost it, right?
This is true. I've forgotten about it, but I haven't. He did.
The friendship started contentious.
He was telling the truth. Damon was very sweet to me.
You and Damon were a year older than Naomi, right?
Yes. And then Naomi I met in stagecraft. I was at Dalton, you could major, you could pick a major and do a senior project. So I was a theater major. You still it didn't really mean much. You just had to do a senior project in that topic. But as a theater major, I had to take stagecraft and learn about building sets and drawing things. And Naomi was in that class.
So, I'm curious. Tell me, because you don't at all seem like you're a nostalgic person. I would actually venture to guess, based on a lot of the decisions you've made, and I'm saying this with admiration because I feel like I get caught up. I could put a golden haze on anything. Like if I was in the Holocaust, I would daydream afterwards like, oh, we got fed. I had a free place to sleep. So
3 square meals.
Yeah. yeah, exactly. So tell me what the years 1978 to 1987 were like, and your relationships with Damon and Naomi, your friendships.
Well, yeah. So that's my high school years. I mean, we were friendly in high school. We weren't close friends in high school. But then, so really, it's like 1981 when we're going off to college. But we were friendly. We would talk about music sometimes. But it was really when we went off to college. The summer before that, another friend of ours, Mark Glimsha, he was like, "We should start a band," and it was his idea for us to start a band. And
in high school.
No, just as we went off to college. So it was maybe the summer before we went off. I don't know.
That's pre-Speedy and the Castanets?
No, this is the band that becomes. This is Speedy and the Castanets. So yeah, that starts in. I guess it starts in 1981.
Okay. Was there any original material with Speedy and the Castanets?
Yeah, yes, there were original songs like Chiquita Banana, Back to Beirut, Take Me Back, Back to Beirut, where the girls are cute and the boys all wear machine guns, something like that.
So what was that material like? Because I've only
it was bad. So we did that, and then we did like Human Fly by the Clash, Garage Band by the Clash,
Submission. You did the
Submission by the Sex Pistols. Yeah, we sprinkled those in, but honestly, we had no idea to play.
What was the original material like, though? Was it completely different than Galaxie?
Like I said, the one word I would use to describe it would be bad. But yeah, it's just kind of maybe it's heading towards Galaxie. It's just like a few simple chords playing like repetitive things, kind of like the Feelies or something. So it was in that vein, but just I can't tell you how bad it was.
So when you guys are at Harvard, notwithstanding music, the three of you are getting really close. Are you finding that you become really, really close, or you?
Yeah. We were really good. Yeah, we were really good friends at Harvard. Damon and Naomi, because they were a couple, they lived off campus quite quickly. They moved off campus so they could live in sin, I guess. And
still in Cambridge or away from?
Yes, they were in Cambridge. They were in Central Square.
Okay.
Hold on, my door just popped. It's a ghost. It's the wind. Yeah, we had the band. We had Speedy and the Castanets, and then our bass player quit. And then we tried another band. Damon and I tried another band, Johnny Guitar. That fell apart too.
I never heard of that. What was that like?
I think we only played one gig.
What was the central idea behind that one?
Johnny Guitar, that was me, Damon, my friend Claudia, who then later became my girlfriend, and then I married her. And then and another guy named Sean.
So Claudia is the one that you would drive to New York?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But so at this point, she was at Harvard too. We were all there. I don't know. I can't remember a single song that we would have played with Johnny Guitar. Like so, I think we have one gig.
So okay. So then you want to reform a band after Johnny Guitar, but you don't know how to go about it. My question then is, Naomi, who had never picked up a bass but obviously had good taste, who is it that has the idea to bring Naomi in when she had no experience with actually playing bass?
I'm going to say it must have been her idea. It wasn't my idea. But yeah, so this is, let's fast forward. We've all graduated from college. I went away to Germany for a year. I came back in New York, and I'm still in touch with them, and I'm just answering ads in the Village Voice, looking for some people to play with. And once in a while, Damon comes down to the city, and we have a jam. And then they presented me this idea. What if that was going nowhere too? It's hard to find people to play with. Anyway, so yeah, the band starts when Naomi picks up the bass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, you'd never know. I mean, she's one of the. Her work in the band, it's one of the greatest basses of all time.
Yeah, she plays fantastic bass lines. She really does. Really, really interesting stuff.
Well, so when you started recording yourselves, did your sound change a lot based on what you were hearing back?
Well, okay. So, do you want to start with these demos that we did at 6/8 Studios?
I do. So, for step one, then, is you record a demo, and we're in phase one. Typically, I'll break an artist or band up into different phases, but you guys, to me, only have one phase, and that is phase one, drenched in delicious waves of reverb, 1987 to 1990. So, you step into a studio on August 11th, 1987. It's called 6/8 Studios, right?
Yes. It's in the Cable Building on Broadway, just north of Houston, on like the 6th floor or the 8th floor in there. 6th or 8th, yeah, 6/8 studio. You know, he used to record there. Alan Vega used to record there a lot. It was a guy named Perkin Burns. It was a tiny little studio. I had been in there because I was just for a little while, I was in this other band. I was playing guitar in this other band in New York. They wound up being called the Niagaras, but before that, what were they called? Oh, they were called the Age of Reason when I started. And I was like, that's a terrible name. You got to change that. Looking back, actually, I think Age of Reason is kind of a good name. But,
I think it's terrible.
Okay. Well, anyway, it didn't happen. That's how I knew that studio. I'd been in there with them. So I booked us in for Galaxie. We did like 6 or 7 songs.
You did 7 songs. So you had already been in the studio before with Age of Reason.
Oh, yeah, just for a day.
So when the Galaxie 500 box set was released in 1996, one of the main treats was the 3 tracks from your first demo, but the full tape actually had 7 songs, and thankfully Soulseek exists. So I went up, and I didn't know until I was researching, so I got the other 4, and I gotta say, it's pretty fucking amazing, especially Open Road.
Song of the Open Road, yes.
Holy shit, Open Road is unlike anything the band's ever done. It's like a path not taken, almost. It's also... It would have been the longest song in your catalog had you released it.
Yeah. Well, that was obviously, it's from the, I was just reading from Walt Whitman. It was, that's what that is, Song of the Open Road. It's a Walt Whitman poem over just like a 1 chord and a descending melody there on the guitar. Well, I forgot about that one.
It's really good.
Yeah.
This is N/A because it's not meant for public consumption. But if a guy with a gun and a stocking on his head put a gun to my head and demanded a rating, I'd probably give it 4 stars.
You'd give it 4, would you? Wow. I think I'd give it 2.
Really? Awesome.
Well, look, we didn't release it. We left it behind. Like you say, we moved it.
Yeah, but you did that a lot.
Yeah. We did that a lot because we didn't have the technology to make demos at home. We didn't make demos. So.
Well, so when you walked out of 6/8 that day, how did the 3 of you feel about these songs when you recorded them?
Oh, we felt okay about them, but I played them with some friends, and it's kind of like when your friend plays you that stuff that's just not very good. And I don't know, you only become aware when you're playing it for other people that it's just not that good.
So you were watching their faces, and they were they acting awkwardly, like because this to me, this is really solid stuff. People were really acting awkwardly and squirming when they were listening.
Really, it's only a couple. Like I played it for a girl I was dating or something, and I remember she gave me a pretty lukewarm comment on it. So I didn't see her again.
By the time you came out with when you were recording today, or at least when you were choosing material, by that point, did you just discredit all this material?
I just think we had better material. I certainly have. Yeah, I don't know. The only song from that session that we did with Kramer was On the Floor. And that version that has just come out. So I guess we liked that one okay, and the others we just thought, well, hey, we've got better songs now.
Right. So then, speaking of, and that's where he comes into the picture. So you sent your demo to Shimmy Disc to Mark Kramer, who I guess just doesn't like the name Mark, and he agreed to produce the band. And from what I understand, you guys all liked the half Japanese record, Music to Strip By.
Yes, very much. Beautiful sounding, great sounding record. The name Kramer, I had seen his band Shockabilly play in New York City at 8BC. It was a club on 8th between B and C in the basement. Probably an illegal club where they had beer in a bucket, dollar beers out of a bucket in the back. And then Kramer was kind of making a name for himself, producing half Japanese, and with his next band, Bongwater.
Were you a Bongwater fan?
Yes, definitely Bongwater and a Bowl fan. And I don't even know I guess we sent out demos to Kramer. We weren't trying to get signed to Shimmy Disc. I think we just called him up to book studio time.
Well, I think you did try to get signed to Shimmy Disc, and he turned you down.
Okay, that bastard.
That's what he says. Because he liked you so much, he didn't want to fuck it up. That's kind of the paraphrasing of it. But I guess you read a fanzine interview with him, and you called to ask rates, and they were cheap enough. So
Yes.
And then around the same time, you sent out a demo tape to Tang, and that's how Mark Alghini That's how he came into the picture. He started working there while he was still in college in the mid-'80s, and he was the first employee for the label when they first put out the Lemonheads and Gangrene records, and everything was first starting to blow up. He worked on the first Mission of Burma record, and you had sent a tape to Curtis, who was the label's owner. He didn't get it. And then was it Curtis or Mark who called you to say that you're wasting your money sending it to record labels like this?
I don't remember, but Mark called us. I have to give Mark credit for listening to those demos and thinking that there was something there.
Yeah. He started a label to put out your first record.
Yes, Aurora Records, named for his I can't think his mom's name is Aurora.
From all the research I've done in looking back, everything went delightfully well with him. The only thing that it seems like he was bummed about is that when things were kind of picked up afterwards with Rough Trade, they didn't put his name on the re-release of Today. But that wasn't anything you did. That was the record company. But it sounds like, no, because honestly, you read about stuff like this, and these people who, Mark is a guy instrumental in the history of one of the greatest debut albums of all time. And if there was no Mark, who knows what would have happened? I'm sure it still would have happened. But, you know, there's nothing fucked up from the beginning point to today, and that's a nice thing to see.
Yeah. Well, I think there was a short period where things were a little tense with him or whatever. He didn't. Yeah, I guess he would have liked to keep us himself or stay involved in some way. But
yeah,
yeah, we're still friendly to this day. I actually heard from him the other day. I just posted something about David Johansen, and he commented.
Well, thank Christ for Mark Alghini. That's all.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, I'm Dave Gebrow. I threw my career as a licensed hearing instrument specialist in the trash, sold my house, and moved to the East Coast with my wife and 5-year-old son in order to focus on making the ultimate weekly podcast for music obsessives thrive. But weekly wasn't enough for me, so I bumped it up to 4 shows a week. Becoming a subscriber to Discograffiti's Patreon gives you access to hundreds of exclusive episodes. As a 2-show-per-week private, you get the weekly show by and for our Patreon family, the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast. As a 3-show-a-week lieutenant, you'll get early release, ad-free, extended director's cuts of the main show. They're the shows as they were intended to be heard. Plus, you'll gain access to half the Patreon archive and the upcoming Beach Boys Behind the Mirror companion episodes, which will feature dozens of special guests from within the Beach Boys camp talking about and rating their music. But as a 4-show-per-week major, you'll be drowning in a flood of must-hear binge listening, because I'll be bombarding you with episodes about super cool bands that are too subterranean for free Fridays. It's like going to music college, but with a tuition that makes all kinds of sense. Plus, our entire Patreon archive is yours. Discograffiti's Top 10, our Buried Treasure show, Rock Cousteau, our Slag Off show, Queasy Listening, and the Private Press with Paul Major. And all that for the price of only a cup of coffee a week. Times are tough, you say? Fret not, because there's a $1 tier. Or you could just join as a basic member and buy episodes piecemeal from our Patreon shop. Don't risk feeling badly about yourself by not giving. Check out patreon.com/discograffiti to find the tier that's right for you. Once again, that's patreon.com/discograffiti. Kramer said, here's a direct quote, "To be perfectly honest, when they first came in and played for me, I thought these kids must be lying. There's no way they went to Harvard. They sounded so fucking retarded. 1 chord for an entire song played that slowly? Come on. On the first day of recording, I'll tell you what I thought. I thought Dean was just adequate as a guitar player. I wondered if he could play more than 2 or 3 chords. Damon, I thought this takes guts to play almost nothing. But when I heard Naomi, my heart started to pound in my chest. What she did with the bass made my heart pound." So, February 1988, with Kramer at the controls, the band records the Oblivious flexi disc and the Tugboat single and a bunch of other outtakes. First off, is it really true that you wrote the lyrics to Tugboat in 10 minutes?
It sounds like it, doesn't it? I mean,
Not to me.
Okay. I mean, they're good, but I mean, it's not like they're worked. I mean, as with most of the songs on the Today album, the second verse is exactly the same as the first verse. So there are not a lot of lyrics. But that's, there's all kinds of ways a song can be good. It can have 9 verses, like Murder Most Foul.
Right.
Or it can just have a few lines that you repeat that get in someone's head. Yeah.
I love bands like yours because you come right out of the starting gate with the platonic ideal of what your band should be.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know that we. Yeah. I don't know if we had that idea, but we got there pretty quickly. We landed on that ideal pretty quickly. We landed with a solid first statement. That first.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of bands where the whole thing is predicated on change. You have a band like Can or a band like the Byrds or Joni Mitchell. You want every album to be just veering off into different directions, whereas with Galaxie 500, it's like you came out with this thing of perfection, and all you had to do was really follow that template. And all the material, it's not like you copied that, but you had a perfect way of presenting what it was you wanted to say and the moods you wanted to create. It was perfect.
Yeah, I guess, we had this kind of formula that would just sort of start lazily strumming, and we'd do a verse, chorus, guitar solo, and then it would go somewhere. Then it would really go, then it would take off. I don't know. Naomi used to say these songs, they're just really a platform, an excuse for you to play a long guitar solo somewhere.
You could say that. I mean, for good reason, Thurston Moore called Today the guitar album of 1988.
Oh, yeah, he did, didn't he? That's right.
Yeah, and for good reason. All right, so I'm going to read a quote from Damon. Kramer invented the sound of the band. I mean, we already had the songs. We came in and played them first take. There was no composing in the studio, but Kramer taught us about overdubs, and through that, he taught us about arranging. He showed us how to complicate what we were doing, and in a lot of ways, I think we learned from our own records how to be Galaxie 500, which is a very interesting thought. Tell me how important reverb is to the Galaxie 500 sound and why it was so important. Before Kramer, were the three of you toying with reverb on your own to any kind of extent? It sounds like that initial demo had boatloads of it painted on. So especially with your new solo record being produced by him for the first time and all that time, how important was Kramer to your aesthetic?
Well, I mean, like Damon says, I think if we had recorded those songs elsewhere, they wouldn't have been nearly as good. They would have sounded more like the stuff we got out of 6/8 instead of what we came out of, out of Noise New York with. So I do think, I mean, you hear it particularly on Tugboat, which is just kind of got this, got a reverb and a delay, not only on my vocal, but on the snare. And it's just like this whole swirling thing. There's one overdubbed guitar on that. Otherwise, it's not a whole lot of tracks, but it sounds huge. And we were kind of amazed how good that sounds. So I guess we have to credit him for doing that to us. And it's part of the reason we sought him out too. I mean, it was just like, okay, this guy's... Everyone else in Boston seemed to go to the same studios. They were like, let's go somewhere else. Let's find someone to do something. So there's a good amount of room sound and reverb on that Half Japanese album too, but not quite like this. I mean, at the same time, we're often later compared to these shoegaze bands, and I don't think we sound like them at all. That's just like a wall of everything's in echo and reverb, and I think we were a little more concrete than that. You can make out the vocals, you can hear what I'm singing. Yeah,
I think it's lazy journalism, actually, to call you a shoegaze band. I hear more in, what I guess people would call dream pop, but, even that. What I find really interesting about your work is the reverb gives it a disconnectedness, but then what I'm hearing with you guys as a unit is a very emotionally grounded band. So there's a lot of feelings that it calls up for me. So there's a lot of emotion involved in your work that I get from it, at least. That's then disconnected by the reverb. So both those notions are always fighting against each other in a very interesting way. Flowers. Let's drop the needle on Today. So Today is your debut studio record, recorded in July 1988 and released on Aurora Records. And we start with Flowers. And you have said, by the way, that you love Damon's playing. And if you listen to Flowers, the way that Damon dances around the snare is beautiful. It's a surprise. Yeah, it is like a platonic ideal. His drum work for that song, it's almost in a jazz kind of category.
Yeah. Well, he listened to a lot of jazz. He listened to a lot of jazz drummers, so that was a big thing. But yeah, it's not someone sitting there playing a backbeat. He's like kind of splashing around, and he's an inventive drummer, and I would say a compositional drummer, in that the different parts he's written for each part of the song, and they're compositional, that you wouldn't want to leave them out. What he's doing, you wouldn't want to change them. It's like a part of the song.
Yeah, I love the fact that you guys are only a three-piece, but you really do sound so massive and overpowering, and it's so easy to get lost in your sound.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess we were a three-piece live, and in some ways we're a four-piece. If I'm counting myself as two pieces, not because I have a big ego, but because I would overdub a guitar track. So on every song, there are two guitars. So.
Whose idea was it to buffer and build on those verse lines with all the comet tails of vocals that were coming off the end?
That would be Kramer's idea.
Okay.
You mean to stack them a little? Or Kramer added a little bit of piano there, playing a line, doom, doom, doom.
I'm specifically talking about you harmonizing with yourself and kind of repeating the vocal line, but just the part at the end where it trails off.
Oh, yeah, that line. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that was Kramer's idea.
It's so gorgeous. That is an amazing opening track. Then Pictures, I love the simplicity of just doubling your vocal in another key, and the way Naomi's bass line ascends and pulls you along from verse to verse. Again, your solo, so simple and spare, but perfect. Always playing the right notes, and again, Damon's tom work, buoying everything you're doing without calling any attention at all to itself.
Also, the bass track is doubled on Pictures.
Oh, wow.
Kramer is saying that let's double the bass line, which gives it it's a strange, thick sound on that.
Wow, never noticed that.
Two basses, like Spinal Tap.
You guys are just so wildly in tune with each other. No, really. I mean, the 10 years of just friendship and maybe just peripherally fucking around with music, leading into three people who are telepathically in tune with each other musically.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I guess that's what it means to be in a band.
Yeah. Parking Lot. The tumbling of Damon's drums into the intro of this one is just perfect. And the lyric is so weird, but at the same time, really easy to connect with. And I always, when this song plays, I'm thinking about the T. And I'm thinking, sitting on a subway train and watching all the people lose their senses, I never had any clue what that really meant. But I also feel like every time I'm on a train, I'm always thinking of that line. Always.
I'm sorry to have done that to you.
What does that mean? When I think of that line, I think of the times I've been on psychedelics and been in an enclosed space with people who were not on psychedelics.
Oh, yeah.
And it feels like they're the ones who are freaking out, not me.
Well, that's what Strange is about, so we'll get to that song later.
Yeah. Twinkies. Yeah, this is such a great song. And again, it's just the back and forth of two chords through most of the verses. It's so simple. And Damon's drums, which are just a bit higher in the mix here, just gives it the right twist, so it's just not too simple. And the build to your solo, the best part of which is just a back and forth between two notes, would be impossible to improve on.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad you like it. That's not my favorite track on this album, but...
What is?
Well, I guess Tugboat or Don't Let Our Youth Go to Waste.
Okay.
I'll pick two.
Okay. Don't Let Our Youth Go to Waste. So, an anthem. I mean, first, for anyone who hasn't heard this yet, I would advise you, and I never advise people to pause the show, but pause the show and go listen to this for a song that has such an almost laughably anthemic title. It is so subdued and so gentle. At first, there's a few minutes of crucial instrumental interplay, the kind that would make someone like Thurston Moore call it the guitar album of '88. Then by 2 minutes and 40 seconds into it, it settles down. And most of the time through my life, I never listened to all the lyrics of this song. because I never really do with your music, because there's an aspect of it where I don't want it stamped in concrete, because it has such a beautiful abstract component to it that I don't want to ruin it. Not that the lyrics would do that. This is the first time I've ever sat down and read the lyrics to your songs. And and this is of course not your song, but
no, this is not. I didn't write these lyrics, but I think that's generally true. We don't listen to all the lyrics. I mean, you hardly, when we listen to a song, it's like a few of the lyrics sticking out. I don't know. We just don't listen. That we don't. At least I don't. I don't listen to hear the lyrics all the way through. The lyrics, yeah, like I said, I think it's like he's writing this song. Jonathan Richman is to a girl. He's like, well, actually, I think it's comical. He says, "I could show you memories to rival Berlin in the 30s." And then I'm thinking about that. I think he means the 20s.
Yeah.
Because the 30s in Berlin, certainly after 1933, it's not so much fun. Certainly not for Jews, socialists, communists, homosexuals, and gypsies.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe that's one of the reasons I never tried to cue in.
Yeah, so I think he means the 20s, like the 20s, the Weimar years. Those were fun.
Yeah. So when you laid this track down, or when you listened to it back then, first of all, are you a nostalgic person? Are you moved to emotion easily, or are you pretty straight-faced, or no?
Am I moved to emotion? I don't know.
Do you cry a lot?
Do I cry a lot? More as I get older, and so I guess it depends what kind of. I don't cry a lot, no, but I do sometimes. Sometimes you get triggered by a TV commercial.
Yeah.
Certainly by music. Music's the most powerful art form that way. It's the quickest to our emotions. Everyone knows that. So, and yeah, if I want to make myself cry, I guess I go back and play records that my parents played when I was a kid. I play like Nina Simone's "Here Comes the Sun" or "Massachusetts" by the Bee Gees or things like that, because I think they trigger something in you.
So 2025, Dean Wareham. When you hear this song, does it send you anywhere? Is there a component of it that is really powerful for you, or is it just another track on this record?
Well, it's more when I perform this song, when I sing this song, like when I sing a lot of these songs. So maybe that's where the nostalgia kicks in or something. It's just because I don't sing them all. I don't do them all the time. So when I do them, I really do get a kick out of them. And I get a kick out of singing that line, "Don't let our youth go to waste." Because he only says it once in the song. Before that, it's don't let it go to waste. Don't let it go to waste. And
I love that.
At the end, yeah.
I love that. You have this massively powerful line, and most of the way through this long song, you're only beating around the bush.
Yeah.
It makes me think of the Delmore Schwartz line, "In dreams begin responsibilities."
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah,
and he would have been aware of that, certainly as the Velvets and Lou nut that he was.
Yeah, which of course I first found out about on the back cover of the Blue Mask.
Oh really? What is there Jonathan Richman mentioned in there? Or
no, just
to the Delmore Schwartz.
Delmore, yeah. I mean, look, this is like one of the aspects of the engine, I'd say, that always is idling in my spirit. Is "Don't Let Our Youth Go to Waste." Your performance, the rumble of the toms from this song are kind of always there guiding me forward.
And certainly, I was talking about being lost before, and I've said this before about this song. I don't know, how long is it? 7 minutes?
Yeah, just like about.
So we've done the rhythm track, and then I was like, go out, play the lead guitar. And so it just, because it's 7 minutes, I got lost like halfway through it. I know how we built into the song, but then it's got a long outro, and I'm just like, where are we going to break it? And I was lost, but so I put down the guitar and I walked in the room. I was like, I don't know. I really don't know what I did there. But then, like, played it back. It's like, wow, did I play that? How did I play that? And then it's funny because when I came to do that song again live, like 20 years later, and I came to like, okay, I'm going to figure out the song again. I was like, wow, how did I do that? What am I doing there? What am I? Because I'm making mistakes. I'm hitting like a dissonant note, but that one that really works. And when you hit a dissonant note and it really works, then you have to do it again. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because then that's the old. Then it sounds like you like a part that you played on purpose.
This episode is brought to you in part by Bespoke LA. Located in the Fairfax district of Los Angeles, Bespoke LA is the modern podcaster's dream come true. It's got 2 podcast pods available, one with audio only and the other with both audio and video. Just think, you can start your own podcast tomorrow without investing a single penny in equipment. What, you don't have experience editing? Don't even sweat it. For an additional fee, Bespoke LA can edit your podcast. Or not, it's entirely up to you. Rates start at $75 an hour with discounts if you book 4 sessions at once. Go to bespokela.com/podcast. That's BSPOKELA.com/podcast for more information or to book your time today. And be sure to tell them that Dave sent you for a one-time 25% discount. All right, Temperatures Rising, which was my initial favorite song from the record and one of the best melodies on the record. I always loved this song. It always had the feeling of audibly conveying what it's like to have a fever. What do you think about this one?
I love the song. Yeah, I love it. I don't know why my temperature was rising. I guess it's a pretty common, it's a pretty stock idea for a song about my temperature's rising, I got a fever, whatever. It's a pretty common idea for a rock song. And again, there's only one verse and one chorus repeated over again. Oh no, and I can't see no more. But yeah, it's only 3 chords. So yeah, here's the thing about playing the Galaxie 500 songs. It's only 3 chords. But it's still, each song, when you come in to play it, it takes a little studying to figure out how to play those 3 chords and just where it's going to go, or it goes up and where it goes down. And there's a nice, I like the little quiet guitar solo in the middle of the song that kind of, as a friend of my friend Tay said to me, was like that little like 10-second solo, like it actually like tells a story. Yeah, if I go to what am I trying to do on the guitar? Sometimes you're trying to tell a little story. Take someone on a walk somewhere instead of just like, jizzing all over them.
That's funny. My son, who's 6, yesterday he called me cum face. And I started laughing, so he kept calling it. He said, in his mind, he's thinking, I stumbled on something funny here for some reason. So he kept calling me cum face. Yeah, this is the work. The soloing has a sort of Middle Eastern vibe to it, like a snake charmer kind of a thing to it. It's definitely some of my favorite soloing on this song that you do on the entire record. And then Oblivious, here's something I love about the Galaxie 500 discography, is that the alternate versions of your songs are either Oblivious with harmonica or without harmonica, Blue Thunder with sax, without sax.
Right. Well, that's just a mixed decision on Blue Thunder, but with Oblivious, this was 2 different recordings of it. So I guess because we did it on those, must have done that in the February session with Kramer.
Okay.
I think.
It's getting late. Do you remember what or how you were thinking as you get into the booth to sing? And was there anything that you would do to get yourself into the right frame of mind? I'm saying it here specifically because the way that your voice insinuates itself into the song is so perfect. It's almost creepy. There's this intensity to it that makes me almost palpably flinch.
I'm listening to this, thinking of this song. This is what you would call a cocaine song, I guess. That's kind of what It's Getting Late is about. There was no vocal booth per se at Noise New York. It was just I'm back in. They're all in the console room where the booth. It was a very small room, and I'm out in the main room doing the vocal. I guess I'm just nervous. That's my main feeling doing all these things.
Just then, or to this day, are you still?
No, not so much to this day. Yeah, no.
Okay. I love this one. Is this one of the ones that's...
I like this too. I like the way the guitar explodes at the end, like the feedback. And again, I just feel like sometimes if you just dial in the right sound, it almost plays itself. And that's, I kind of feel like that way about this solo and also about the one in Don't Let Our Youth Go to Waste. It's just kind of the sound. I mean, the sound, it literally does play itself if you lift your fingers, because it's the compressor is just pushing that amp so hard. But people ask me like, whoa, what were your effects pedals back then? What pedals were you going through? I'm like, I only had one pedal. That was a Boss CS3 compressor. That was the only pedal I had.
Wow, that's surprising to hear.
But I think bands didn't have a big pedal boards back then. We had like 1 or 2 in front of us.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah.
Okay, instrumental. Tell me about the ideology behind a band that titles an instrumental.
Well, it's the working title, and then it just gets stuck with the working title. I think, maybe I probably should have come up with a better title, but...
I don't necessarily think so.
Okay.
But also, it feels like there may have been lyrics at one time for this song. Were there?
Well, I'm sure I was trying, but I don't have any discarded lyrics for it.
I really like this song. It feels like there were ones, though.
What cracked me up about the song is it got used in an Acura commercial about 10 years late after the fact. And it was just like this commercial about, the high-tech machines, the Acura. And it was just funny to me. I was like, okay, that us, like this band, that we're just learning to play our instruments, but somehow, this song works perfectly for this ad about high-tech engines.
That's great. What's on your thumb?
Oh, yeah, what's on my thumb? I've just been playing around with this
okay.
thing. It's this band that I go like this to. I had an impingement in my shoulder. I fixed it now with this band. A little strengthening exercise. So I carry it, I sit and I fidget with it.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right, so it's one of those retention bands? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Tugboat. So I intentionally didn't talk about the aesthetics of the song because I wanted to wait till we were in the context of the record, but in my opinion, one of the greatest love songs of all time. It really, really is. There'd be no, notwithstanding King of Spain, obviously, the 1-2 punch of this and King of Spain, it's almost too much. It's so emotionally moving. And, obviously, where King of Spain is at the end, I've always preferred having that there as a sort of landing for the record. But this song is just so unbelievably romantic. Just a bleeding heart with just so much emotion erupting out of it. And yet the vocals more untamed than one would think a delicate song like this would call for. It works so well. The simplicity of your finger-picked guitar line, Damon and Iommi's empathetic accompaniment, all of it gels, and we talked about this being sort of a mission statement, just a perfect, cohesive starting gate moment. It's just a thing of amazement to me.
Well, I think maybe it's our finest moment as a band, this song. It's all downhill from here. So there's that first single. Also, on the original version of Today that comes out, this is the final track. King of Spain is not on the album.
Right.
King of Spain is just the B-side to that single.
Right.
So this is the closing statement.
Is the title possibly a reference to Sterling Morrison? Who was
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I had become aware that Sterling Morrison had a job as the skipper of a tugboat down in Houston.
Yeah, in the 70s and 80s, right?
Yeah. And I found this, pretty romantic. So it's a song I was, written to my girlfriend, and I would come down to visit her in New York, and she would always have all these parties for us to go to, let's go to this, and I'd just be like, oh, I just came down here to see you. I don't want to stay at your party. I don't want to talk to your friends. I just want to be your tugboat captain. I guess that's the way of saying, I don't know. I want to get married. I don't know. Maybe not so fast.
Amazing. Okay, King of Spain. What does King of Spain do to you? Do you like that song looking back?
Yeah, I do. I like King of Spain. I don't know if you've read it. It's inspired by the short story by Gogol about a madman who thinks that he's the King of Spain. He is, in fact, not the King of Spain. He's just out of his mind. And I think chordally, it's kind of related to a Jonathan Richman song. I can't remember which one it is, but not that it matters.
I got to tell you, the percussive stuff that Damon's doing when you're strumming, there literally couldn't have been anything better for him to do. It's so moving. The way that he's accompanying you there is just, it's out of hand. I'm getting chills really just talking about it. I can't talk in a, musically erudite way, and I don't think it would really help anyway. But one thing that I really love about this song is that when you compare it to something like Beat Happening's Indian Summer, where it's adults singing like they're kids, this is adults singing like adults, remembering what it was like to be kids. At least in my mind, when I'm hearing, lyrics like King of Spain, you're telling me it's about something else. But I'm seeing it as like kids playing pretend like they're the king. It's emotional in a different way. It's less of a put on. and more of something I can actually connect with. Whereas Indian Summer and Black Candy and things like that, which I still love, it's a little bit of a put on.
Yeah, well, I guess everyone's doing a little bit of a put on, but okay.
But you know what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah. I love the wood block on that song. That's the little thing he's hitting on that too.
Is that the sounds that he's making?
Yeah. Yes, it's on a wood block. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. King of Spain was for a long time my favorite song on the album. And then my friends who really got me into you guys in a deeper way pointed out that no, Tugboat is the best song on the album. And then I started to realize that it actually was. But it's always good to have the album end with the two best songs.
Yeah,
obviously.
Well, and that's So that is our first single. Obviously, it's Tugboat with King of Spain on the back. It's a nice,
amazing. And look, even though the rest of your work is downhill from there, it's a very slight slope. No, seriously, because I mean, you come out with work.
Yeah.
If you come out with work this good, it's not the fault of the work that follows it up.
Thank you.
It's not. But like I said, the way that I've rated everything in this is unprecedented in this show's history. So, and then we'll just talk about Crazy for a second. It's just a few seconds shy of 2 minutes. Not a major work, but I honestly do wish that it was a part of the album. Crazy's as good as anything from the entire record. Do you remember why this was left out?
It was put to a vote. I voted for including it. Damon and Naomi didn't want it on the record, so that's why it was left out. It did come out on the CD edition of the record, and I can see why they didn't want it. Maybe Damon was just like, oh, these lyrics aren't that great, which is true, but it's a pretty exciting track, I think.
Yeah, it's great. And then a couple other outtakes, which I think easily could have fit on the record. Jerome and Song in 3, I love both of them. I think both of them are incredible.
You know, it's funny. I can think back being in the studio mixing this, and Don Fleming had dropped by. Don Fleming lived downstairs, actually from Ball, and later Gumball, and he actually lived downstairs. He came by and was like smoking a joint with Kramer, and I've been listening to Jerome, and he's like, you should put this. He's like, the especially what happens at the chords at the end. He's like, this should go on the record too, but it didn't. Yeah, I think both of these songs, like Song in 3, I really like too.
Song in 3 is even better than Jerome, I think.
But I guess the question you ask yourself is: do you strengthen the record by extending it to 12 songs, or do you weaken it? Or is it it's kind of nice to end with Tugboat instead of? I guess we still could have.
You always want to leave them wanting, but the thing is, Crazy, Jerome, and Song in 3 are as good as anything on the record. And, if you really, I think, put the screws to it, I would say you could probably get rid of, if
Oblivious.
Oblivious would be the one track. That would probably be the only one. Maybe instrumental, and then put in these. I mean, but these are, at this point, it's like, look, here, I'll give you my review, which is just tripping over itself with sycophants toward the work itself. What a group. I say that specifically with regard to this record because I hear 3 people who literally couldn't possibly be more in tune with each other, as if Bergman's persona was about 3 people, not just 2. The combined sound that the 3 of you made together at this early stage is so moving to me, so yearning, calm, and lucid, so hypnotic without being self-consciously narcotized like so much of the music in the late 80s. Just a small handful of traditional major chords and the pale blue eyes end of the Lou Reed VU songbook, along with a sprinkling of youthful imagination to defibrillate a familiar dream. I don't know how well or poorly the 3 of you were getting along this early in the game, but by the sound of it, you were reading each other's minds, for Christ's sake. The interplay is simple, straightforward, and totally telepathic. And the end result is one of my 5 favorite debut albums of all time, and without question, in my top 50 albums of all time, probably top 20 or 30. And yes, I can produce that list for you. You're on it, my friend. This is a really important one for me, a record that has soundtracked a great many stellar experiences that I couldn't imagine without it. It's a very hard 5 stars.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to give it 5 too.
Nice.
I remember. I could give it 4.7. We've discussed there are songs that are not the best, but yeah, I think it's a pretty solid debut. Remember Roy Wilkinson, who reviewed it for Sounds, he was like, "Oh, this is an instant classic." He said, and at the time you don't really like, "Oh no, it's not. Come on, I don't believe that." But looking back and looking at what else came out that year, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's outstanding. Yeah, it was a good time for music. Maybe not a great time. Maybe around the corner it was going to be a slightly better time. But although I don't have a list of what came out that year, I'm guessing it had to have been the record of the year. So
for us, for you and I.
Yeah, well, just objectively.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So then, I honestly don't want to focus on unpleasant stuff, but I do want an accurate history of the band. And right after today, just after finishing the record, there was a fight about songwriting credits, and Damon and Naomi quit the band right there and then before today even came out. All right, that about does it. Stay tuned, because next week we've got part 2 of Dean Wareham discussing and rating the Galaxie 500 discography. Next week, we bring you a track-by-track rundown of 1989's On Fire. Okay, here's the week up ahead. This Sunday, our weekly show within a show, the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast, drops for our Patreon's private tier. These are real people with talent and a burning fire deep inside, just like you and I. Then come Monday, the major tier gets a very special treat, and man, do I mean special. Monday's bonus episode is part 1 of the Big Lurch prison interview, a series you won't soon forget, to put it mildly. Never heard of him? Go ahead, Google him. Big Lurch is an incarcerated rapper who got into a bit of a scrape with the law after descending into a PCP-induced blackout and emerged having realized that he may just have cannibalized someone. This is definitely the craziest series I've ever run, so don't miss it. Because of the sensitive nature of the material in this series, it will only be accessible on the major tier of our Patreon, with no sneak peeks available for the next 3 weeks. But it'll be right there waiting for you, kind of like Richard Marx, but not. And then on Wednesday, the Lieutenant tier gets their early release, ad-free, super extended director's cut of part 2 of the Dean Wareham Rates Galaxie 500 podcast. It's the episode as it was truly intended to be heard, with all the essentials left intact. And then come Friday, everyone else gets to join in on the action. A heartfelt Discograffiti thanks goes out to my beautiful wife and son, Jen and Mason, Dean Wareham, Rudy Fishman, Becky Boyd, Jay Schultz, Bespoke LA, my mom, my dad, my incredibly loyal fans, and especially the entire Patreon community, the Soldiers of Sound. I love every last one of you, and this show would not exist without you, my friends. Speaking of friends, it's high time for some new ones. They're in our Facebook group, Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound. That's the best way to find out what's coming up on the show, but there's a hell of a lot more. You get recaps of the day in music history, the ability to pitch questions to guests, polls that put you in the driver's seat on guest and band decisions, access to a thriving creative hub if you're looking for a collaborator, and much, much more. So make sure you don't miss out. You can find the link to the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound Facebook page right there in the show notes. And if you don't mess with the Zuck, no sweat. Just email me at info@discograffiti.com and I'll keep you in the loop. So now that it's done and you want more, another way to dive even deeper into sparkling indie rock majesty is to leap head first into the Sonic Boom Rates Spacemen 3 series. That's episodes 183 to 186. Tom Morello rates the MC5, that's 177. Robert Schneider rates the Strawberry Alarm Clock, that's 175 and 176. No Ages Randy Randall rates Jesus Lizard, that's 172. Cindy Lee's Diamond Jubilee, that's 168. Chris Cohen rates himself, that's 166 and 167. Michael Imperioli rates the Smiths, that's 164 and 165. The Mark Robinson series, an incredible 16-hour interview, that's 128 to 136. Will Cullen Hart rates the Olivia Tremor Control, that's 131 to 133. Mike Watt rates the Minutemen, that's 124 to 126. The David Pajo series on Slint, that's 94 to 101. Bob Nastanovich rates Pavement, that's 49 to 58. Jonathan Rado rates Todd Rundgren, that's 37 and 40. Anthony Fantano rates The Velvet Underground, that's 32 and 33. Nirvana is episode 30. Bob Mayer rates The Replacements as 28 and 29. Pixies is 18. Jen Pelly on the Raincoats is 15. PJ Harvey is 12. And Cocteau Twins is 3. And of course, be sure to mark your calendars, because next Friday, May 9th, we're coming at you with part 2 of Dean Wareham Rates Galaxie 500. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. And so, from now till then, don't let our youth go to waste, lads and ladies. It's Discograffiti!